looking at a primary. Probably have thought about this, but what are you going to do to make sure that you're the candidate that winds up on the ballot in case of a primary?
Well, I mean, if I'm in the primary, I'm assuming I'm going to be on the ballot. Either I'm going to get the votes at the convention, or I'll gather the signatures around the state. But to answer to your question, yeah, I'm in it till the end. I mean, obviously, if I lose the primary in August, right, then I'm out. I mean, I'm not planning a third party run. I want to run as a Republican. I think that's my best chance of winning, is running as a Republican, and I do want to win, and that's my intention. You know, I've raised money now from, I think, 17,000 people, maybe more. My average donation is less than $100, and I've done that without a single fundraiser. I've done that. You know, I haven't even sent out one letter asking anyone in Connecticut to give me any money. I've received money from people all around the country who believe in what I'm saying, who believe in liberty and the Constitution and capitalism. They think I'm the person to bring those principles to Washington. And so I'm in it, you know, to win the race. I've got a campaign team that I recently put together. I opened up my headquarters maybe a month ago. I got into the race later than the other candidates. Mainly because, I really wasn't planning on it. I mean, this is something that came out of left field. I was drafted into this race by people around the world that emailed me and encouraged me to run. So it really was something that, I hadn't been planning it for years. So now I'm in it. And, my bigger media campaign is going to start, my media buys start in March, and so I will be running ads on television. You will be seeing things from me in your mailboxes. And I think I still have plenty of time to introduce myself to the state. And, I think that, a lot of people think they only have two choices between, a career politician and a business person of, with a background that maybe is not totally suited to the task at hand. And I think that, when they see that there's a third option and they look at my background and the things that I've done in my life and the things that I've said, I think a lot of people are going to support my candidacy.
So is this going to be an actions speak louder than words campaign? Ken, what do you got?
The war on terror, where you stand.
Well, I'm obviously against terrorism. and I think that the main function of the federal government is to protect Americans, and that includes protecting us from terrorists. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the actions that we've done in the past have actually incited terrorism, and so I want to make sure that we don't do that. But I want to protect ourselves from the threats that do exist, and there are some threats, whether some of them are from our own making or some of them are not. But we need to protect the country. Unfortunately, what I don't like is a lot of the things that the government has done in this country under the name of terrorism. I think a lot of bad legislation has been passed under the guise of terrorism, such as, let's say, the Patriot Act, that really isn't doing much to fight terrorism, but has destroyed civil liberties in this country. It's destroyed financial privacy. I don't know if people in this room know this, but as a stockbroker, if any of you open up an account with me, I am legally required to scrutinize everything that you do. I have programs and I have people that are looking into your transactions, looking into the money you send and the money you take out, the things that you buy, looking for suspicious activity. Mainly, if we don't think that maybe you're not paying all the income taxes that you owe based on the transactions. And then if I see that, I am required to report you to the government, but I can't tell you because I can't tip you off. I have to tell the government that here's an individual that may or may not be committing a crime, so here's my evidence, go look at him. And if I don't do that, I can be fined, I can be put out of business, I can be jailed. So no American has any privacy anymore in their financial affairs, because when you're sitting across from a banker or a stockbroker, they are actually an unpaid IRS agent, an FBI agent, informing the government on everything you do. And all of this supposedly to fight terrorism. But of course, they named the bill the Patriot Act, but they should have called it the Unpatriotic Act, and then maybe people wouldn't have supported it. But there is no truth in legislation. Whenever you see a government bill, whatever the title of that bill is, it's doing the opposite. And so they use terrorism as a way to expand their power, and they scare us into surrendering our rights, and we can't do that. Yes, terrorism is a threat, we have to guard against it, but there is a huge threat coming out of Washington that is even more deadly and more important to our daily lives that we have to contain.
So our soldiers in Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, I think we have too many troops there. I was initially in favor of going into Afghanistan because, after all, that's where bin Laden was, and he's the guy that got us on at 9/11, so it made sense to go into Afghanistan and get them. I don't understand why we couldn't do that. Meanwhile, he's not even there anymore, and we're sending in more troops. What is the purpose? What is the plan? I was initially against going into Iraq. I thought it was a mistake. I didn't know why we were, and I certainly didn't like occupying it. I mean, if we thought they had weapons of mass destruction there, if we knew where they were, then take them out. But why are we occupying the country? We can't even run our own country effectively. Why are we going around the world trying to do that? I mean, we've got bases. We've got bases in 160 countries or so. We got bases in Western Europe. Why? Why do we have bases in these countries? I mean, these government bases are like government programs. They feed on themselves. They perpetuate themselves. They're not making us safer. I mean, the thing is, yes, the only reason that our founding fathers gave the federal government the power to tax was so they can defend the country. That should be the predominant role of the federal government, and that should be most of its spending, is on national defense. The rest we can take care of ourselves. But they're so distracted on so many other things that they screw that job up. And, as I said, I'm not, an expert on military strategy. I mean, there are people that know more about that than I do. But I think I'm an expert on economics. And I know that everything the government tells the public on economics is wrong. Everything is wrong. They are completely incompetent. And my guess is that their incompetence extends beyond economics. They're probably incompetent in everything. And so I'm sure they're doing a lot of things wrong in the way they're defending the country.
David.
Could you define your opponent and differentiate yourself from your opponent?
Which opponent? Are you talking about in the...
We're Republicans. Who's your opponent, and how would you differentiate?
Okay, assuming I get the nomination and I'm running in the general election, yeah, the difference between me and Dick Blumenthal, Dick Blumenthal is a politician and he's a lawyer. Not that many people like politicians, not that many people like lawyers. He's both. Right? And he has spent his career screwing up businesses. He is the second highest official in the state of Connecticut. Look at the mess the Connecticut economy is in. He can't walk from that. His strategy is going to be, send me to Washington so I can do for the country what I did for Connecticut. That ain't going to play, right? Look at the mess it's in. Look at how many lawyers work in the Attorney General's office now compared to when he started. He specializes in growing government. That's not what we need. Right? What does he do? He files lawsuits. Yeah, that's how we're going to get out of this mess? We're going to sue our way out of this mess? Right? We need to send another lawyer to Washington so we can sue people? That is not going to do it. I mean, so I think running against Dick Blumenthal is going to be almost as fun as running against Chris Dodd. I don't think there's any way in a debate or anything you do, you're going to get a guy who spent his whole life grandstanding in a public office because he wanted to be a United States Senator.